That is how a sitcom ended. No punchline, no wink to the camera, no studio audience applauding the cast into the credits, just a field of poppies and birdsong. That scene aired on the 2nd of November 1989, more than 3 decades ago, and I still can't watch it without feeling it right there. So today I want to do something a bit different. I want to break down exactly why the ending works, the writing, the performances, the near disaster in the edit, and why, after nearly 4 decades, it still hasn't been beaten. If you grew up watching British TV, Blackadder is in your bones. You've quoted it. You've argued about the best series. But Goes Forth ending is different. It's the moment a sitcom dared to become something more. And here's something many viewers don't know. That iconic final scene very nearly did not work at all. Let me take you through it. To understand why Goodbye hit so hard, you have to understand what Blackadder Goes Forth had been doing from the very first episode. Here's the trick Richard Curtis and Ben Elton pulled, and it's properly clever. Every other Blackadder series gives us a hero trying to survive a terrible situation. Medieval England, the Elizabethan court, the Regency. Standard sitcom setup. Schemes go wrong, laughs follow. But Goes Forth is different, because this time the audience knows something the characters can't escape. We know how the First World War ends.
Hang on.
So, from episode 1, from the very first joke about Baldrick's coffee made from mud.
Why is this?
Because it is mud.
There's dramatic irony baked into every scene. Edmund is scheming to get out of the trenches. George remains enthusiastic. Darlin fusses over regulations. It's all funny. But underneath every laugh, there's a countdown ticking. And the closer we get to the end of the series, the tone shifts. Watch episodes 5 and 6 back to back and you can feel it.
My family is not inbred.
Right, pack me a toothbrush, Baldrick. We're going on holiday.
Hooray! Where to?
Hospital. Long wait for certain death is nearly at an end.
Everything feels as though it's building towards what comes next. They spend 5 episodes making you laugh with these ridiculous men, and then they just take it away.
My diary's pretty empty this week. Let's see. Thursday morning, get shot.
Something happens in Goodbye that Blackadder had never done before. Across 4 series, across centuries of British history, their characters have always been performing. Blackadder performs cynicism, George performs optimism, Baldrick performs, well, whatever Baldrick is. But in this episode, the masks come off. And it's devastating. First George, for most of Goes Forth, Hugh Laurie plays George as a walking burst of public school enthusiasm. He thinks war is an adventure. But in Goodbye, the optimism finally cracks. There's no joke, no exaggerated reaction, just a quiet admission. I'm scared, sir.
I'm scared, sir.
Laurie plays it completely straight. No mugging, no laugh line, just a young man who has finally understood what's about to happen. Then there's Baldrick. Baldrick, who spent 4 series being the punchline to his own existence, delivers his own war poem. Hear the words I sing, war's a horrible thing.
The words I sing, war's a horrid thing.
It's terrible, obviously, it's Baldrick, but it's also completely sincere. Tony Robinson plays it without a trace of irony, and somehow that makes it worse. And then the moment that gets me every single time. It isn't a speech, it isn't confession, it's an absence. For 4 series, whenever things got serious, Blackadder reached for a quip.
So is there any particular area you'd like us to go for? We can aim anywhere.
Well, in that case, just above my head might be a good spot.
A deflection, an exit. That was the armour. But here, with the whistle about to blow, all that falls away. He looks at these men he spent 4 series pretending not to care about. And all he says is, good luck, everyone.
Good luck, everyone.
No sarcasm, no escape route, no cunning plan. Rowan Atkinson, one of the great visual comedians of this generation, does almost nothing. Just stillness. Just 5 words delivered like he means every one of them. That's the emotional climax of the character, not wit, not cleverness. Just a man who's run out of ways out and chooses, in the end, to face it with the people beside him. Right, the final scene, let's talk about actually what happens here. Because it's so simple you could miss the craft of it. The whistle blows, they go over the top in slow motion, no heroic charge, just these men we've grown to love scrambling into smoke and mud. And notice something else, we never actually see them die. The series refuses to turn their deaths into a spectacle. They simply disappear into the smoke before the image dissolves into the poppy field. Underneath it all, a slow piano arrangement of the Blackadder theme begins to play, not the brassy military version we've heard throughout the series. Something quieter, almost mournful. Birdsong remains, that's it, that's the end. Here's something many viewers don't know. That scene was effectively rescued in the edit. The cast only had around 15 feet to run before reaching the barbed wire in front of the camera, where they had to pretend to fall dead, an effect Rowan Atkinson later described as somewhat unconvincing. There was an understandable reluctance to repeat the sequence because of the pyrotechnics. The production had very little usable footage. It was director Richard Bowden who found the solution. Slow the footage down, strip away the chaos, fade into a still image of a poppy field from the BBC picture library. What became one of the most iconic moments in British TV history was, in many ways, created in post-production. And that's actually perfect, because the power of the scene is restraint. Think about what they didn't do. No close-up of Blackadder's final expression, no surviving character explaining what it all meant. Nobody says anything profound. They just go and they're gone. Mid-thought, unfinished, the way so many young men disappeared into history. The restraint is confidence. It trusts the audience to feel it. And nearly 4 decades later, we still do. So why does this ending endure? Why does it still appear in lists of the greatest TV finals ever made? Why does it still punch the air out of you, even when you know it's coming? 3 reasons. 1. It doesn't preach. This could have been an anti-war speech. Instead, it simply shows you people you care about and removes them. That's more powerful than any argument. You don't need to be told war is tragic when you've just watched Baldrick vanish into the smoke. 2. The real villain of Goes Forth was never the Germans. It was the distance between the people who make decisions and the people who pay for them. Field Marshal Haig is shown absent-mindedly sweeping toy soldiers from a model battlefield while real soldiers die in mud. General Melchett bellows enthusiasm for a war he'll never fight. The distance between command and consequence isn't only a 1917 problem, it's a very human one. 3. It's the fullest expression of something British comedy does exceptionally well. We're good at sadness. The funniest British shows are often the saddest. Steptoe and Son, Only Fools and Horses, The Office. We use humour to survive unbearable things, and Goes Forth may be the purest version of that. It made you laugh for 5 episodes, so the stillness at the end would mean something. The impact of that ending goes far beyond one sitcom. Rowan Atkinson has spoken about filming it. Many involved have since said they didn't really appreciate just how powerful the ending would become until they saw Richard Bowden's finished edits. Tony Robinson has often spoken about the emotional impact of that final day on the set, and Tim McInnery has said that ensuring Darling went over the top too, rather than survive, was one of the production's most important creative decisions. It changed what a sitcom was allowed to do. Before Goes Forth, comedy finals usually ended with a joke. They wrapped everything up neatly. They sent you to bed smiling. Blackadder did the opposite, and proved that audiences would not only accept it, they would treasure it. And they still do. Every Remembrance Day, the final image resurfaces online. Every new generation discovers it. It hasn't dated and it hasn't weakened. If anything, in a world that's louder, faster and more desperate for attention, that piano fading into birdsong only seems to have grown more powerful. So here's what I'd say. If you haven't watched Goes Forth in a while, watch it again. The whole series is only 6 episodes. It'll take you about 3 hours. And when you get to the end, that poppy field appears. I promise you, it hasn't lost a thing. I'd love to know your memories of this. Did you first see it when it first aired in 1989? Did you discover it later on repeats or DVD? Drop a comment. These conversations are generally one of my favourite things about doing this channel. And if you enjoyed this, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit the bell, share it with someone who needs to be reminded that British TV used to be this good. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.